Hello everybody, we are in the 32,000 mile Aristo, and as you can see there's some parts taken apart, things everywhere. Basically I just want to do a little trial and error and kind of see what works, what doesn't. So first things first, I'll just show you the good. So number one, we have a US spec GS cluster. So it bolts right in, plugs right in, no problems. And if that stays like that, I can show you here. Everything works as it should. We got reverse, neutral, drive. When you put it in manual though, it goes to 3. So that's kind of weird. The cluster though itself, you can see the paddle or the button shifter gears, manual mode shifting, and these are actually up and down a gear, down and then up, 2 and then low. So everything's working good. You know, RPM, so if you want a mile-an-hour cluster, you can just plug it right in and it'll work fine. The airbag light was off. I don't know why it's on again now. Not exactly sure. I thought that was tied into the clock assembly, but maybe not. I'll have to look at that, see what's going on. But you should have seen, yes, you know it's off. You should have seen this too. So what I did was I removed the factory navigation here, because this is pretty useless. And I looked at a GS, and unfortunately everything is different. So you can't put a GS navigation 98 to 04 in here, because these plugs are all different. The stereo's integrated into the navigation. On the US models it's below. The good news though is this is the AC controller here. These plugs are exactly the same as the actual multi-display. So you can plug in the multi-display and everything works perfectly. And if you want to do that, then you have access to a full double DIN. Anything you want to put in here, you're good to go. So your AC controls are separate. You can buy these on eBay for 300 bucks. I've seen them $300-400 bucks for this unit. So that's good. That opens up a lot of doors, because then obviously you can put in whatever you want here. The only problem is I don't know the pinout. I don't know what is what on here. In order to make some kind of like a patch harness or a jump harness or something. I'm not exactly sure what you would do. But obviously some of these are speaker wires probably, or I don't know. Do they go to the trunk of the navigation? Do you have to run new wires to all the speakers? That I don't know. But at least this way you're golden. And then the speedometer, that's just cool if you like a mile an hour. If you want to keep the factory one, the kilometers and all that, be my guest. But I'm just letting you know that this works. So if you want to do that, you can. And then the only other thing we got to do on this car is check out the timing belt. I wanted to pull the cover off because it's likely the original timing belt, and this is 1998. So we're going on 25 years or more almost on the original timing belt. So I'm going to pull this cover off, see if we can get a look in here and see if this thing is... That is loud. What is that? Oh, that's the throttle body, I think. Yeah, the electronic on these is... Alright, I'm going to pull this off and we'll see if we can take a look at timing belt, see if it's going to break the next time I start it or what's going on with it. Alright, here's a look at the top of the valve cover. Take a peek in there. Looks pretty good. Original wires, obviously. Timing belt looks okay. I'm not seeing any cracking on top. seeing a little something here, like this is kind of splitting right here by the teeth. You see that right there? Like the teeth are about to fall off. No, you see how this is like flat here? And then right here it starts to, you can kind of see this splitting in the belt between the teeth and the top belt. So that might be a concern. I mean, obviously you want to replace a belt on this anyways, no matter what. But the risk you run, or the concern you have, is if the cams turn when the engine is starting or driving, it could strip some of these teeth. It could just like fall off, literally. And that's what I'd be concerned about, the splitting or the separation of the teeth from the actual belt. But I mean, even under here, you don't see any like major cracking or anything like you would on an older timing belt. It's just kind of that separation there. So I don't know, it's not mission critical to do that immediately. I think it's okay for now, but definitely something we want to put on the list. Change the oil seals, because you can see there's a little bit of you know, dust on there for these seals probably. And then water pump, crank seal on the bottom, all that stuff. But I mean, look at this. This is just, I've never seen an engine this clean. You know, normally Toyotas have like leaking oil all over them, but this one looks pretty good. Even way down in there, you can see the wiring looms that are still factory green. They still have the tape on them. There's no oil. There's no mess on them. AC compressor literally looks brand new. Like the clutch is all painted black still. It's all factory fresh. I mean, look at all this. The power steering valves, the vacuum hoses on there. Man, this is awesome. I'm kind of torn too. Am I going to keep this? I think I mentioned it before too. Am I going to keep this or you know, sell it? I don't know. I just don't know. It's so nice, you don't want to even touch it. So I've decided to do the timing belt, water pump, seals, the fan belt, and tensioner, idler, all that stuff. So we're going to do a timing belt. All the parts are coming tomorrow, so I'm going to start the process now, draining the coolant, removing the radiator, and just taking some parts off. We'll be topside most of the time, but underneath we have, as you can see, the plastic shield. So that's going to have to come off. But it's pretty straightforward. I mean, this timing belt is super simple. It's just got the one tensioner pulley. I think it just goes from the crank to the cam to the cam to the tensioner and down, and that's about it. So real easy once we clear all this stuff out of the way and then get the pulleys off. But that'll be a nice relaxing video, you know, easy Aristo 2JZ timing belt. Here we go. So here we can really see the underpinnings of the beast. You can see the camber bolts up here. Those are like nice and golden. The lower motor mounts look great. All these lines look great. Oil pan, like we said before in that first video, like those bolts look brand frickin' new. And then that air duct kind of went up into here, so I don't know if it's to keep the manifolds or the turbos cooled down. I don't know. I guess that's the only thing I can think of. What else? So we're gonna have to remove the intercooler pipe here. So that's just 2 Phillips heads, and then our 10s, I guess that would be, for the clamps, and then 1 10mm bracket bolt up here. Oops, slipped away. I probably don't need to say it, but be very careful with all this stuff, because getting replacements would probably be very difficult, if not impossible. I looked up the radiator, and it's kind of like, you want what? I can't really find OEM radiators anymore for this thing. Yeah. So let's get this off, and then we'll drain the coolant. That is not oil. That's just how the plastic is molded in there. Yeah, look up this part number. See what you can find, if you can even find that. 17362 46090. The parts programs will look at you like, what? Alright, so you'll see a little bit of oil kind of coming down. You know, I don't know where this came from, but over here, it looks like it's coming from the valve cover gaskets. I did get new ones of those, so when we go topside, we'll change those out as well. This tensioner looks like it's rusted. I'm assuming that's original. I don't know, we'll see when we get there, but new crank seal as well, new cam seals, valve cover seals, and that should pretty much do it on this thing. Yeah, next up, coolant. And you'll see this even has like, is this the factory bracket here? What is this, like gummy stuff? Is this, that can't be factory, is it? Has this been replaced with something? I don't know. Can't tell. I'm wondering if this radiator is new or it has been replaced at some point, because it looks a little different, but we'll check all that out when we get there. Okay, coolant time. SLLC, the pink coolant, it has its factory fill as well. I do want to remove the radiator cap though first, so we get good flow coming out the drain. There we go. Oh, look at this. Never seen a blue gasketed radiator cap before. That's cool. Here we go. Yeah, this all looks fairly nice, fairly new, but we're not going to take any chances because I don't know when it was replaced. We've got 3 gallons of brand new stuff on the way, so that's what we're going to use. Okay, while that coolant continues to drain below, I'm going to start working on some stuff up here. 10mm bolt on this air duct going to the air intake filter. Comes right off. Put this back on. So this is a Denso, well, the fan bracket is, but see how like new this thing looks? I swear this thing has been replaced, because the fan brackets are all dusty. So we'll set that aside. As you already saw, I did have this loose up top. We can take this belt off now, or the hose, not the belt. Okay, be very careful around the fittings on your radiator for obvious reasons. This was really stuck on here, which means it tells me that that's probably never been off. This, yeah, it's not coming off easily. Usually you can give it a good twist and it'll break free, but we're gonna have to find a flathead or something. Okay, so very gently kind of work under here just to break this hose loose a little bit from the plastic. Okay, in severe cases you'd want to like slice this with a razor blade, but this is fine. We just broke it loose now, so that should just twist off like that. Same thing on the aluminum side. Here we can be a little bit more harsh on things, because that is aluminum. I wonder if they make a tool for this. A radiator hose loosening apparatus. Hose looks good. We got some pink inside of the string, or the fiber inside of there, but other than that, yeah, even in the air intake here, it's very dusty. So that's really all we have to do on this side. Like, we're wide open now. There's this cool bracket on the valve cover gasket here for the hose. That's kind of cool. I need to find the hex for this, and then we can start working on some of these, like the radiator overflow hose. It can just get pushed aside. if I can get it out of here. There we go. And there's an air duct into the ECU and the fuses and wiring. I guess that just keeps it cool. I don't know. That's not a JDM specific thing, but if you know, tell me. But I think it's just for airflow, circulation in here, keep things cooler. These look like 12s. The radiator brackets on top. Grab these right away, get it out of here. And then I'll have to figure out how this bracket comes off without breaking it. I think you just pry this tab here and then it like slides off, but I couldn't figure that out initially either when the hose was on, so I'll just wait. I'm not gonna force anything at this point. And our coolant is overflowing. Oh, Jesus H. Hold on, we've got a crisis. I've got coolant everywhere. I thought it just like stopped draining, but it was overflowing. Fantastic. And I think I'm actually going to reuse the coolant. Once you see it, you'll be like, oh yeah, I'd reuse that. Look at this. It's like brand new. I think I'm going to reuse that. Other than the significant amount all over the floor I got to clean up. Because I can't multitask and talk and record. So stupid. Alright. This bolt here. Where did the other one go? Somewhere over there. Okay, this thing comes straight up. Gotta clear the oil filler cap there. And then off. These motors, I remember when these motors were like $7,000. They're still like, I saw one for $6,000 with 30 or 40,000 miles on it. Okay, so now we have access to the valve covers themselves. I'll probably have to remove all this wiring and coil packs and everything to get in there to change the gaskets, but it is leaking on this side, so I'll see if we can see that. Right kind of down in there, you might be able to see a little bit of oil. It's either coming from the cam seals, which will change, or the valve cover gaskets, but no biggie. So next, once this coolant finishes, we're going to pull off the 12s for the radiator brackets and then pull this out, then pull the belt, and then start working on some of this stuff. Well, we're almost ready to remove the radiator. I got all the connectors unhooked under there. I thought this was kind of cool. It's got like a hot swappable air filter. Just pull it out and then drop it in. I don't know if other cars have this thing, but maybe I'm just an idiot and haven't seen them. But I thought that was pretty cool. Okay, so I think they make it just tight enough so you can't like rotate this out past this air box. So we've got it loose enough. I think we can clear it now. I was going to take out the whole thing, but we'll see when we get there. Okay, so just lift straight up. Got all the radiator lines unhooked for the cooler, AT cooler, and this is definitely a tight fit out of here. If we can clear that, we're good. Okay, radiator's out. Look at this. Look how clean this thing is. It's just unbelievable. So here we have a 14 millimeter. And we're looking at the V-belt or alternator or serpentine belt tensioner. You want to turn this clockwise, and that'll give you enough slack to slide off the belt, you know, either on top or bottom or wherever, it doesn't matter. Like so. That feels healthy, despite being so old. I did order a new belt. I mean, this thing, it looks brand new, but it was only 40 bucks for a new one, so I figured, why not? We're already in there. Mitsubishi, see, it's literally like brand new. That's the challenge with something like this. How do you justify replacing, like, you know, brand new stuff? But it is what it is. So water pump, this thing looks interesting. I vaguely remember how difficult this was with this huge elbow on here, and then everything kind of is connected. It's not just a simple water pump out, water pump in. Here we can kind of see, you know, it's smooth, it's not binding, it's not making any noise, but problem with that, the time, is the seals inside will just, you know, wear out and it'll start to drip out of the bottom of this. So it's not necessarily the mileage, but the mileage plus the age plus the seals and everything. We will want to get this to TDC, line up everything correctly before taking the belt off, because the belt should have some white marks to line up all the marks. So the next step really is to take off this cover, and then probably the crank pulley, and then the bottom cover, and get that all working. One upper timing cover off. There's 3 5mm hex bolts, one in the middle, right, and then left. Let's look at these beautiful stickers that are still nicely intact. Lovely. Okay, so here we can see a little bit more of what's going on. So we definitely have an oil leak from either the valve cover gasket or the cam seals, because it's kind of dripping down in here. I think that would be, well, there's a cover on here, so either the oil comes in front of this cover and drips down, or it's dripping from behind and pulling up, or a combination of both, because there is oil all in here, you can kind of see, which is strange. Look at that Toyota timing belt. Yeah, that's original. This thing, you don't touch these 5 bolts in the back. I think you just remove this, and there's like a hex inside. This is just a little cover and an O-ring, and then this thing comes off. But we need to remove this tensioner next. So these look like 12mm. That should come out, and then we'll figure out the TDC and where all those marks are. We've got one more bolt here to remove, and then this belt tensioner will fall off of where it is, just like so. Kind of a pain in the butt if this ever goes bad. We'll kind of inspect this a little bit. There's some weird, like, it's almost like assembly lube or some kind of like, I don't know what that is, grease? Why would there be grease in there? You see, like right here, there's like some orange yellowish grease. I don't know if that's like a factory thing or what on earth that would be from. I don't know. Mysteries. Got a 30,000 mile 2JZ. More of the same over here. You see this kind of like oil film, which is really odd. It's so odd to have such a low mileage motor and have all this like leaking from the top end. But day 2 has arrived. We've got our factory fresh parts from Toyota, and everything was about $650, I want to say. The water pump's not pictured. I guess it's a few more days out. They didn't tell me that initially, but it is. So oil filter, the ZZD1, 3 gallons of the pink, and then we got the cam cover seals, the valve cover gasket seals, the 2 cam seals here, and the crank seal, and the timing belt with the cool Japanese sticker. Make sure to obviously write your mileage, stick it on the timing belt cover. And this one, you can see it's the same exact style. Again, I don't know if this is a date code or whatever when it was made, but this is what the new one looks like. And then we've got our serpentine belt here. Same exact thing. There's there's nothing on it? Oh, there it is. Yeah, so same thing. I just want to get a look at that. Did you guys know these are like well over $100 for just the tensioner and just the pulley? I was shocked. It's like 130 bucks. 115 or something. It's insane. I remember when these were a lot cheaper. But NTN, it looks like that's the company that makes the Toyota or Lexus branded part. And oops, shoot, just broke it. Nothing on here that you can like buy an aftermarket one or anything like that. You can, I guess, just replace the pulley here if you really wanted to. NSK bearing, yeah, if you figure out like the NSK bearing part number or whatever, if you look that up, maybe you could find that and then just swap that. But I figure this car is nice enough that we are going to do all original brand new parts on it. So that's that. Yeah, gotta wait a couple of days for the water pump, but we can continue tearing the engine down. Here is our front of engine. Now when you're putting this back on, I did check the FSM and some videos, and you'll see these notches on the timing cover. Those notches line up with the hash mark on the cam gears, not the dot. The hash mark to the indent. And I think this one is supposed to be actually a little bit right. So when you line up this one and the crank, this is going to be tight. And then any slack on this side is going to be picked up by the tensioner assembly when it tightens. And that's going to pull this cam a little bit counterclockwise so the hash mark will line up with the dot. So we've got everything lined up. We're at 0 TDC. There is a white mark here. There's another yellow mark here. You want to look at the white mark. And yeah, that's it. So we've got our Milwaukee 22. Hopefully this fits here. I'm hoping. Oh, it's so close. Oh, it's so close. Hopefully this will knock this off. Ooh, it's tight. I have to do this two-handed. Hold on. So with this, even on setting 4, it does not knock that bolt loose. So we're gonna have to, I guess, do the starter trick and just put a socket and a wrench and then an extension, and then just quickly turn the starter over, and hopefully that'll break it loose, because I don't know how I'm gonna get that off. Alright, I want to mention the starter trick. We're basically putting a socket, wrench, and extension over here. This is going to allow, basically, you know, stop the, when you crank the engine, there's no way this can spin, and theoretically, it's going to be able to just pop the bolt loose. Because the engine's going to want to spin that way, this is going to want to spin that way, but it can't, so, yeah. This is big in the, we used to do this a lot in Mitsubishis in the 90s and other stuff that was impossible to get off, or we didn't have air tools, or nothing like the electric impacts we have today. So, let's see if that works. I sure hope it does. Okay, you hear that? So either something broke, or... Ah, look at that. Got it. So there you have it, folks. When your Milwaukee impact on number 4 doesn't do it, refer to the breaker bar trick. Okay, we've got our bolt type wheel puller. So basically this is going to go in the middle with your little pintle or whatever you want to call it, so it doesn't go into the threads. And then this piece is going to go flush on the pulley. Alright, so we got the correct size bolts now. These are a little bit bigger. And those are the ones that go in here. I don't know why that first one kind of stuck in the hole, but definitely not it. Okay, there's one. And double up these washers. We've got the pintle in the middle. Don't forget that. One time, well, a lot of times I forget that thing and tighten this down, and then, yeah, it's not coming off. I have to take it off again to put it back, put that middle piece back on. These you can really do hand tight. It's nothing crazy. This is just to hold the thing in, so do it maybe half a dozen times or so. And then you'll need, I think this is a 14 millimeter. Why is this so tough? Looks like I can't turn this anymore. Hold on. Okay, here we go. For some reason, I just need a wrench to continue tightening this. I don't know why. Gonna be a little bit. Okay, so we're aligned, everything's good. Now, as I've done in previous videos, ISF I can think of one, you'll see the entire crank pulley just slowly moving out. This is not a lot of pressure at all. It's just a press fit, you know, part. So that's why it just doesn't fall off by hand. Or like that Mitsubishi we did, it just kind of fell off because it's held in by the bolt. It's not pressed over the crankshaft. So you see on my finger now I can fit between the pulley or the dampener rubber portion and the cover. A few more turns of this, it should just literally fall off the crank. Careful not to drop it. Don't let it hit anything. Almost there. Oops. And then to get it back on, you would just use the bolt. Tighten the bolt down and it would pull the pulley onto the crank. Or you might be able to do it by hand a little bit, just depends how tight that fit is. Okay, we're almost there. There, boom. See? Done. Now, 10mm bolts here, and of course there's one hiding behind this bracket that there's no way to get out. So we're going to have to pull this bracket to get that bolt. One here, one here, one here. We can see how much oil is down here too, dripping down. So it'll be nice to clear all that up. So I'm going to figure this out. Looks like we're going to have to do, at a minimum, this bracket. So there's two 14s in here. You probably can't see it. Oh, a little bit. Inside the power steering pump, and then this bottom one. This bracket will come off. Alright, let's see if this comes through for us here. And it does. That's a big bolt there on that bottom bracket. Make sure you know where these all end up and where they go and how to put them back in. Last thing you'd want to do is mix up these bolts. Oops. Or lose them, not know where they go. So we just lost, what do we lose here? Lost a washer, so that probably goes under this, I think. Maybe it was on top of it. Can't really tell at this point. I'll have to check the video, see which side it fell from. And get these out. Of course, they're next to impossible to pull out of here. Magnet would come in handy, of course. Okay, there's another one. And we can actually leave that one hanging on the last one. Now we have access to that bolt. Okay, with that bracket out of the way, we can access this bolt. This one's easy. Lower one, another lower one, one under the water pump. I've been thinking about this car, and I kind of looked up like basic upgrades for 2JZ, you know, downpipe, more boost, all that stuff. And I don't know, I'm kind of torn between leaving it stock or doing basic stuff, or you know, it's like, you leave it as a survivor. Will someone actually buy this thing for what it's worth? I don't know. There's just a lot of things that you think about when you're working on something like this. But when you can show somebody a video of all the factory parts you replaced, how you did everything right, that definitely adds to the value of the car. So here's the best part. Just removing stuff like this is just so exciting to me. So you can kind of see, you know, under the belly, so to speak, of what's going on. So you basically, you can kind of see more now of the picture, the big picture. And honestly, like the tensioner and the idler, or the tensioner pulley, like that all looks brand new almost. It's almost heartbreaking to even replace it. But here we are. So now we have this little plate on the bottom. This is our, basically holds the timing belt in place. So convex, concave, don't mess this up. Make sure it goes back on the right direction. Otherwise this will tear up your belt if it goes on wrong. I should mark it just so I know, but I'll just put it right side up so I know. Alright, at this point we are back at TDC. You will see a small hash mark on this inner pulley or the cogged gear lining up with a dot on the front case. So that is the crank at TDC, and then our cam gears again, hash mark up, line up with the 2 notches on top. Very easy. So yeah, you can't mess it up. So now, like I said, we're going to do tensioner and tensioner pulley. We'll get those out. And if you were not replacing any seals, I mean, technically this is where you'd stop. You wouldn't have to take off anything else. The cylinder head, whatever valve cover gaskets, and then the cam gears wouldn't have to come off. But speaking of the cam gears, we could take these off. I think these are around 60 foot-pounds to get off. So I was mistaken. This is actually a 10, and there's our hole. So this is either a 12 or a 14. I'm gonna have to order something on Amazon or try to find this, see if I have it anywhere here. Alright, I found a 14mm hex at the local AutoZone, and it's only torqued to like 14 or 11 or something. So nothing insane on this one. See, there's, I don't know if there's an, oh, there's an O-ring in here. I don't know if it's supposed to be on here, probably. I don't know, or it's part of that. You'll get a little oil leaking out. What's important that it was not leaking out before. So we'll set that aside, and then inside of here you'll find the 10. So let's get our 10mm hex, make sure that works. Torque to 70 foot-pounds or so. The impact couldn't get it, so I just used a hammer on the wrench, and that worked. So looks like I'm not going to say it strips out or damages the bolt, but you can if you're not careful. And these aren't that expensive to replace. You can see just a little bit of, you know, hex. The coating came off a little bit on here and that, a little bit of wear, but still a tight fit. So that's off. Now I'm going to do the tensioner. And you'll see the water pump actually has a little hose on it. I guess that's hooked up to the weep hole and then just drops down between the tensioner. Kind of interesting. I think these are 12s though. On the bottom of the tensioner. So we should be able to get this from the top side. Or are they 10s? They might be, I feel like 12s. Alright, the original tensioner is out. Got some numbers on there which may or may not mean anything. The rubber part's still in here, which is pretty normal to stick in there. Keep these bolts together. And now we've got the 10mm on the tensioner pulley. Let's see if we can break some knuckles on this one. Oh, there we go. I guess the only benefit to replacing this entire assembly versus just the pulley, oh, you know what I should have done? I should have rotated it back to TDC. Oh well. The only benefit to replacing this is you can get wear, you know, on this portion here. And this could wear potentially, but this looks, you know, literally brand new. Look at that. It's almost the same as the one I have. Okay, now belt comes off. How far off are we? We've got to rotate maybe 25% around. Let me just see if I can do that before the belt comes off. Makes things a little bit easier. So you don't have to rotate everything manually. That's definitely not going to work. Alright, we'll just have to rotate things manually. No big deal. Should have checked that beforehand, but whatever. Alright, so here's that. Here's our gear, exhaust cam gear. And here's our timing belt. And my light's failing. I gotta go charge that again. Yeah, this doesn't look bad. It's just, you can tell it's just old. Well, now it's all full of oil, so you can't use it anyways, but there you have it. Okay, now this should, oh yeah, this just comes right off. That's nice. And then there is a key. Yep, there's a key here, so what we should do is rotate this like so. Get that back to center. Okay. Set this aside. Sorry about the light. I just have to deal with it for the time being. Alright, now we've got our... Let me get my bearings here. Get all my tools together. Now we've got the protector plate, or the timing cover, the cam cover, whatever you want to call it. Let's see what's behind here. And I'm hoping you can just change the seals right here, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong, I don't know. It's different on a lot of different cars. Sometimes you have to pull the cams. Mitsubishi's, you just pull the cam gears. Alright, look at that. Something fell. Probably a gasket on the bottom here. Rubber part. All these bolts together. And now you can see, maybe not because you don't have any light, but you can see kind of the oil that's present right here. So that's leaking down, and then also the same over here. You know, there wouldn't be oil on the cylinder head if it was not leaking through these cam seals. So we should be able to just pop these out and put the new ones in, I think. I'll have to refer to the FSM to be sure. But some, like, you can't push it back in. You have to use this cap and then put it on and put the cap on. So we'll check that because we have to do the covers anyways, so no big deal if we do. But now we have access to the water pump here, and we'll hose everything down with brake cleaner, get it all clean. Here's that rubber cap. I'm going to charge that light, and then we'll continue on. You know, we'll probably do the valve cover gaskets. We are back and working on the valve covers now. So these hoses go in kind of the center area up here, and it just joins the valve cover. These are still pretty pliable. So that's another just tidbit that confirms the actual mileage on the car and the engine. So the water pump. Water pump is technically this front portion here, but you can buy the entire assembly, which looks like this. So this goes onto the engine, and then there's an O-ring in here, there's a gasket here, you know, thermostats here, and then here's your little drain hole for the weep hole, I guess. If it starts leaking, you'll know, because that's where it'll come out of. Some people just buy this front portion and then put a new gasket on, stick it on. But what happens then if this O-ring starts to leak? What happens if this gasket starts to leak? It's not too much more to buy the entire thing, and the part number is 16100 49847. That's the same as the US spec Super Turbo, so that's identical. The other benefit to buying the whole thing is you get 5 O-rings 2 little ones, 1 medium, 2 big ones, and then that gasket for the pipe. So, you know, up to you what you want to do. I just figure, since we're in here already, I mean, I'm probably going to have to pull the alternator to get access behind here. We might as well just do the whole thing. That way we know the water pump is sealed. What I don't know is how it seals to the block, but we'll find that out as soon as we take this off. Probably also have to take off this weird elbow. I forgot how much work it was just to do some of these. Now, as far as the valve covers go, we're going to have to unplug this. There's a bolt here on the water pump holding the wiring harness, and I think we can sneak this over once you remove the solenoid, VVTi solenoid. You can sneak this whole harness over and then lift the valve covers up. There's a bunch of standard stuff inside, just some clips on the coil packs, and then the wires themselves. I don't know if you have to fully remove everything or just enough to get the covers off left and right. But then there's a hose on this side, which as you can see it's totally soft and pliable, so that's good. That vents back to the intake or the charged air side. Then there's another one over here, PCV I believe, which has a grommet in there. That's probably hard, so I'll probably change that one. And then there's a fuel line I believe bolted to the back. I think that's what that is, fuel return or something. Some kind of hard line, I don't remember what it is. Maybe it's coolant. And then a bunch of 10mm bolts and a couple nuts. So I'll get working on that. Same time, you know, work on that water pump, and we'll see where it all ends up. We have all the nuts off, all the bolts out, and all the rubber washers, or the rubber and steel washers, or whatever, aluminum, that go there. So what are the odds that this just pops off easily? I'm not exactly even sure where to lift, but we're going to try right here. Ah, there we go. Easy. Easy peasy. Protect these nice things. That one is not cooperating whatsoever. Alright, well, we've got one loose, so that's good news. Attempt number 2 at getting the right-hand side valve cover popped free. Almost. I hear it. There we go. Look at that. Beautiful. Let's take a look here. The gasket is like new. Like, it's super gummy. I mean, it's fine. I didn't even have to do this, but kind of like a while you're in there thing. Might as well replace it. I am a little surprised there's so much like varnish in here for being such a low mileage motor. But I suppose if it was sitting for a long time not being used, that wouldn't be uncommon. Here too you can kind of see like a varnish line, like, you know, where the cam was just sitting for many years. And then over here, like right here, it rubs right off, but you know, I don't know how, I have no idea how long this thing was sitting or anything, or, you know, anything like that. But cams all look great, that all looks fine, but yeah, just a little varnishy. But again, like I said, it just, you know, wipes right off, and then you have silver cam caps. So I think a bottle or two of like liquid moly or some kind of engine cleaner, that will clean all that up pretty nice. So nothing too surprising here. My bolt is back down there somewhere. And then you'll need a wrench to hold the cams, obviously, when you torque the cam gear bolts. You could also set your impact to, you know, whatever number on your impact gets you close to 80 foot-pounds or 70 or whatever, and just rely on that. Or you could put the timing belt back on and hold the crank and then hope that you could torque the cam bolts. you know, however you want to do it. But this way is the safest, and we get a nice look in the engine to kind of see what we're dealing with. This hose is super flexible. I thought it was replaced, but yeah, it looks almost like silicone, but it's the actual original rubber hose, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, everything looks pretty familiar, because if you watch my prior series on the IS, I got an Aristo motor from Japan, and you know, very similar setup. So very familiar, very cool. At some point, you know, do we do a single turbo on this? I don't know. We can go back and forth a million times. You know, if someone buys it, obviously no. If I keep it, it might be down the line after we max out the twins, or sequential, or whatever you want to call it. Spark plugs, I don't see any point in changing those, because you know, the car ran fine, and there's just so little miles on them that I think they're okay, and they're probably original. I'm guessing they're original. So what am I going to do? I am going to find that bolt, and then move on to the water pump. So that'll be next in this whole process, and I think I'm going to remove the alternator, 14 millimeter or 12, and then 12 millimeter nut here, and it should come out of here. I should probably disconnect the battery too. Before I forget, let's take care of these cam seals. So I have a seal puller here. That could work on here, because we have exposed space in between it, and it pops right out. So that works. And even though this car only has 30,000 miles, you know, this cam seal is pretty hard. It's nothing like the new ones. So I don't see any, well, yeah, look at that. It just kind of, there's just no rebound, no flexibility left. So time in addition to miles can be detrimental on your parts. And the other one, you can use a small flathead. Obviously put it against the cam, because you don't want to put it against the aluminum here. That'll definitely chip it or mess it up. So kind of work the screwdriver under, in between, I don't know if you can see any of that, in between the cam seal and the cam, and hopefully same process where it'll just kind of pop out of there. Probably not. You can also remove the cam cap, obviously. There we go. Yeah, same thing here. It's just like, I don't know if the rubber they used back then was like not good, or just a different like blend of rubber, but this is just, it like crumbles in your hand. Very interesting. Now, as far as the new ones go, let's take a quick look at those. I'm sure everyone wants to see. Now this one, you'll see, look at this, it has the same green mark interior. I don't know if it's part of the rubber or dyed or whatever, but I mean, this is like brand new chewing gum. It's just super pliable, and that will just stick on there. We won't have to remove the cam caps here, so we're not going to have to necessarily redo the sealant, although that wouldn't be a bad idea. I might do it on this one, but this one, I'm going to have to remove this line, and I don't want to touch that. So I think, for our sake, this should push in by hand a little bit. Oops. And then once you get it started by hand, you can kind of tap it in the rest of the way and just make it flush with the aluminum. There we go. You may also feel it bottom out, so either way. That's good. And then I'm going to take this one off and then redo the RTV, or the rights, or the, what is it called? Hold on, let me grab it. That is the Toyota FIPG seal packing 103, and I've got expiration 9/1. Technically this stuff only lasts about 6 months, but I think we're okay on something like this. Okay, I've got this loose here. You can just use a hammer to tap it lightly, and this will just come right off. Now we can also inspect the bearing surface here, and it looks perfectly fine. No issues at all. Same on the cam, perfect. Now what you're going to want to do is take a razor blade. You can see this old silicone on there just kind of fell off. Take a razor blade and work it in there. If I lost my flathead, I don't know where it is. Just around this surface here, you can see a little bit of old silicone. Just try to get that off best as you can, and then clean it, brake cleaner, whatever. Get this all nice and clean, and then basically you're just going to have a little bit of, I'm going to assume some gasket material, or the FIPG, on the outside of this cam journal. And then that'll prevent any oil from inside getting outside. So just a very light amount here. You can kind of see even the outline where the factory had. Let's get a little bit closer. You can just see barely right here. There's an outline of where the factory had some gasket material on the outside. Just right on the outside. And you can check the FSM too. It typically says, you know, hey, a couple millimeters of sealant or FIPG there. And then you can see the nice cam lobe there, journal, very good. And again, we're just trying to prevent any oil from inside the cylinder head to sneak out that way. Now, back to the cam seal. It's going to be very easy to put this on now because there's nothing in the way. And you'll see it actually bottoms out. There's a little ledge. Maybe you can't see it. There's a little ledge where it stops. And that's exactly also where it's flush with the cylinder head. So you want to mimic on this side, you know, same thing over here. And you don't need any, maybe a little light coat of oil if it doesn't go on smooth, but I wouldn't put anything on this seal. And then on this side, what I'm going to do is just take something, extension, whatever, and use that to just gently tap this new seal in place. You can use a socket that, you know, taps the entire thing, but if you take your time like this, just go around it, you're not going to have any issues. You're not going to damage the seal, because really the inside of the seal is going to be the most important part. You can see our FIPG in there, and then these cam cap bolts, if I go by the other ones, just to verify, they are 14 foot-pounds, and you can easily check it by setting your torque wrench and then going to another one and then verifying, but the FSM is always correct. So 14 and 14. You can go back, double check, boom, boom. Just check these again, boom, that's good, that's good, good. They're all 14. Okay, alternator time. Oh, man. Oh, that was very tight. Always watch your fingers. I've had some nasty wounds from stuff breaking loose and smashing into sharp metal stuff, so be careful. That's that. And then we've got this long bolt up here. And I think that's it on this one. Oh, we've got this bracket too. Joyous. Joyous. I have to go down below and remove the transmission lines from the bracket, I think, potentially. Yeah, it's kind of stuck. It's jamming up. Maybe we can just let that sit there. We'll see. Okay, water pump time. 12 millimeter. Make sure to get your pan handy, just in case there's still coolant down there. I do not have an electric ratchet, unfortunately. I don't know if these are different sizes either, so we'll keep these. Oriented by where they go. This will kind of give us the first look into seeing. That one does look a little shorter, the top one. Okay, yep, it's shorter. That one. Let's see. Back to long again. There's that one. What else we got down here? I think this one goes in too. Strangely enough. That's oil. So there's oil on that one. Interesting. Okay, what else we got? I'm guessing we have to disconnect all sorts of fun stuff once we take this cover off. Why did I do this? I should have just left this for the next person. But I wanted to make a video, so here we are. That's a 10, it's the same size. So far we just have one screw that's not the same size as the others. These look like 10s. So we've got 1, 2, 3 more for the front portion. 2 and 3. Wiring harness, make sure this is out of your way. 2 and 3. Now theoretically, this should pop right off. And it does not. The whole thing kind of moves, but I'm not seeing. Oh yes I am. I'm an idiot. Hold on. Got one more bolt right here. Okay. That's that. Oh, there we go, kids. There's your missing coolant, everybody. So, check this out. Plastic water pump, looks nothing wrong with it. It could go right back on. Gasket looks very, very similar to our new one. Alright, this is a bit important here. So this back bolt that goes in this little coolant line or whatever, it doesn't come out. Barely, like, it hits the charge air pipe. So you have to kind of break this thing loose, angle it down, and then this bolt will come out. But once you do that, we are now free from the water pump, almost. This should just pop out of here. I don't know why it's not. Just complicating things for us here. Let's see, what do we got? Let's try a hammer. This is just really a press fit O-ring into the water pump. I don't know why it's being such a pain. There we go. Okay, now angle this out, and you can see our pipe gasket here that comes in with the water pump kit, and then on here is our O-ring. So that is important, and I think we're gonna have to swap this pipe over too. So this pipe is not, that's a separate piece with 2 O-rings. Coming to you live from the oil pan. So we have a thermostat housing there, straight up. Those 2 10mm nuts will come off. We push the alternator out of the way, and then to the left of that, you'll see the extra pipe on the back. So that looks pretty easy. We can get those with a 10mm wrench. Once we get the thermostat elbow off, and then we're golden. We just have to take this rubber pipe off, that little one, straight ahead. And then I'll pretty much update everybody when this is off. But I don't think we're going to have to change the thermostat. The mileage is so low that I'm pretty sure it'll be fine. So let's see what happens. Alright, we got everything off. The only thing I'm going to say about this is that they're actually 12mm nuts, and then 2 have the water pump mounted to the block, because when you try to loosen the pipe nuts, the whole pipe will twist. So that's it, we're good. That's out. Now we can just basically swap the parts over to the new water pump. And then just a continuation from below. You're going to pull this straight out. And then here's our metal gasket there. That looks good. So this pipe we're going to have to twist out of here and then swap the O-rings on both sides. And then here's our O-ring right here in the block. Nice little design for that. And that's it. You know, we're almost there. Alright, we're back. We've got the water pump installed. There is a gasket on this U-pipe thing, J-pipe, whatever. I added some black FIPG on there just to be safe. Left the original gasket, looked fine. Got a new gasket on that far pipe. We've got 2 O-rings on this connector tube or pipe. We've got a new O-ring on the thermostat housing, and then a new O-ring under here. Now we need to torque this to 15 foot-pounds, these 12mm. And you're supposed to actually tighten the 2 A bolts, which are these. They're not threaded on top. So these are supposed to be tightened by hand actually first. I'm gonna guess that's just to make sure everything's in alignment. So there's one there, and then there's one under here, kind of right by the drain tube, if you picture it over here. So we'll tighten those up by hand like it says. Okay, here we go. It's going in straight. Very minimal resistance. And then once you tighten and torque these 2, then you're supposed to move on to the gold colored ones. So there's 1. And 2. Grab our torque wrench. And make sure it's 14 again, although we can't do those are smaller. But it's supposed to be 14 foot-pounds. Come on. Okay, water pump's good to go. It's all torqued to 15 foot-pounds. Now we need to move this crank pulley. Do not put anything behind this to try to pry it off, because I 100% guarantee you'll break the teeth on the pickup. You'll notice it's a TDC. The keyway is on top here, and then there's also a hash mark here that aligns with the dot on the oil pump. You'll have to take out this little metal guide, which screws in down here. I guess that's just to, prevent the thing from walking off the crankshaft. We're going to have to remove the keyway here, and then find some M6 bolts to bolt into the pulley. And then we're going to use our same puller here, stick this just like this, and then we're going to put those little M6s by 1 probably in here, and then we'll pull it right off. So let me go find some bolts. Alright, here we've got the M6x1 bolts, and you can see even by hand we can get separation on this pulley, so it's not on there that tight. And then the crank key, I tried to get it off, but it was fighting me the whole way, so I'm just going to hope that this walks off over that and we can just leave that key alone. And it looks like we're good. Looks like we've got some rust on the crankshaft. I'll have to sand that down a little bit, clean it up. But these bolts, I used a die and then made them M6x1 because in the Polar kit they're obviously not, metric sizes, or at least the smallest ones were not M6s. The bigger ones were actually M8x125 or whatever. But you'll have to buy your own or make your own M6s for this situation. Okay, so that's off. And you see all the keys or the notches on there, those are all good. That's the easiest way to get it off. And the safest way. You can't feel any of this actually with your fingernail or anything, but I'm going to grab something to clean this up. And then to get this seal out, same thing as above, we're just going to tap a flathead essentially between the crankshaft and the seal, and then like tap it out so it comes out that way. Okay, I actually did this by hand. I just stuck this flathead in and then twisted it counterclockwise, and it popped the seal right out of there. So we'll take a look at this. This one looks fine. I mean, it's still pliable. You can see some kind of like leakage through here, but I don't know if any was getting out. I mean, according to my finger, potentially, but that could be from all the brake cleaner we've been spraying. It's kind of leaking down in that bottom portion. So either way, you do not want to have to deal with this after you've put on the timing belt, and after this has all been taken apart. You don't want to end up with a leaky crank seal. So it just makes sense, guys. Like, it's just, you're right here. So let me find the new one. And installation is going to be same as the cam seals. We could lube this up a little bit with some oil from somewhere. If you have some you just want to grab out of the cylinder head or something, or wherever. Doesn't need much, just a little coating. Just to assist. And then it should go pretty easily by hand. Like it's seated halfway right there. And then basically, same as above, you just tap it until it bottoms out. You're done. Sprocket can go back on. Alright, we got the crank seal on. This isn't completely flush, so you might notice the top of the oil pump comes out a little bit more compared to the oil seal. That's normal. If you watch my LS400 video, it's the same deal. But the seal is flush against the inside of the crank. So at this point, we can put the sprocket back on. This should just take hand force, like boom, easy. And then don't forget your little retainer thing here, whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called. 10mm washer, and then the little retainer deal. Looks like it's just there to prevent the timing belt, I would assume, from kind of jumping out off the pulley. Not necessarily anything walking off the crank. But this just goes right here. And there we go. Just rests inside the little notch there in the oil pump. Like so. We're still at TDC. We got the mark there on the sprocket to the dot on the oil pump. And now we can pretty much start our rebuild process here. So I'm going to grab my new tensioner pulley, Don't forget the washer off the old one. Very important for spacing and all that good stuff. So that goes back on here like so. This can drop down like there. This will be plenty loose to get the timing belt on. It's not going to interfere at all with that. If you don't put the washer on, this thing could bind up on the bolt heads behind it, and then you'll have a real fun time. It'll just seize up and mess up the timing belt, could jump it, could, you know, burn the side of it down. But that's very important to get that on there. And now we can go back to the cam gears, get those on, and then torque those to 60 or whatever it was. I'll just look up the spec again. And then the crank bolt, I think it's 213 or 250, somewhere in there. I have the holder. If you remember the ISF video, I showed the crankshaft or the crank pulley holder tool. We're going to need that to hold the dampener outside and then be able to torque the bolt down. So we'll get to that when we get there. But right now I'm just going to put the cams back on, cam gears. You've made it this far. Make sure to wash your hands. Get any oils, grease, dirt off of them while handling the belt. Should go without saying. If you're OCD, you can put the Toyota logo, you know, towards the front of the car. Factory was actually towards the back, so it's kind of up to you. The intake side, so the VVTi gear, you see how the gear moves but the cam does not move? I like to set it up so the gear is all the way clockwise until it stops, which corresponds with this mark on the gear and the mark on the timing cover. So that's going to allow you to get this and the crankshaft tight. So we don't care about the exhaust side just at this moment, but we want to get this just like this, and then we're going to pull, and it should, the teeth should line up on the crank just perfectly, so that we're really tight and there's no like floppiness on this side. So I feel like we have to go one more tooth, or something needs to be just turned just a touch to get this where we want it. Now, I don't know if that, I don't think that's it. So we might have to, everything's lined up though, so I don't know. We'll see how this goes. Our exhaust cam is slightly clockwise, so that'll give us what we need. And this is giving us a hard time. Why is this so goofy? Oh, unless we're missing, what is going on here? Missing a tooth on that side. That's good. Okay, that's a little better on that side. And now this should just kind of fall into place. You need the belt not fully on the cam gear. Slide it out so it's just barely on there. That'll give you the extra little bit of length you need to get it over the other cam gear. And should just pop right on. Come on. Oh, it's so close. It is so close. It's so close I can feel it. I think we've got it. Oh. Just about. Yep. You can start sliding it on now once you get it started. And it should just slide on. It shouldn't be this hard. Come on, belt. What is going on with you? Usually when it doesn't go on, it's telling you that it's not right. Or something's off. But I don't listen to things like that. Alright, so we've got... Jesus, what is going on here? That's on perfectly. That goes right there. Where's my missing tooth? I need one tooth, or half of a tooth. I think the problem is the stupid tensioner. I think even with it installed, that's our frickin' problem. I knew it. So the tensioner can't be fully bolted down. That's the issue here. Although I feel like we really could get this over. Apologize to my knuckles if this if they get smashed. But we are right there. Good God. There we go. Okay. Now we can push the belt on the rest of the way. I don't recommend doing it this way because it's just more of a pain in the butt. But we are on. Now we've got some, not even, I wouldn't even call it any tension over here. But we're lined up here, and we're lined up on the crank. So at this point, what we could do is rotate the motor. If I can find my crank bolt that I keep losing, I can put that on, and then we'll rotate this a few times, and we'll make sure everything stays in sync. And if it does, we're good. We pull the pin out of the tensioner and continue on. So we've rotated the motor a few times. You will get a little bit of looseness up here depending upon where on the engine stroke you are. Same thing here. This could be loose, but one of the three sides should be tight depending upon where the crank is. So if you look, we've got, here's our hash mark. There's our mark on the timing cover. Same thing here, hash mark timing cover. And then the crank, you'll see the little hash mark and the dot. Now, they're all not going to line up exactly perfectly dead on. But, you know, for example, if you move this just a teeny bit like that, you know, then these are going to be a little bit off up here depending upon where it sits. But now we're tight on top. We're tight back here. Now the looseness is over here. Make sense? So, we're good. Now we can pull this pin out, which is going to automatically adjust tension. If the belt over time gets a little bit loose, tension is going to take up the slack. And then once that's done, we're going to put on, don't forget your little ring. This side goes towards the belt, not the cupped side. So it goes on like that, and then the cover goes on, and then our pulley goes on. And at some point, don't forget we have that belt tensioner here. So we've got everything on, all the Allens that hold this on. The next step, probably, before at least you put this cover on and, you know, the hose and everything, you want to put this maintenance record on. So right here it says date replace, odometer reading, kilometers obviously we'll select on there. And then there's a protective film that goes over the sticker. A lot of people miss that, and this all gets blurred away. So we're going to write the correct information and stick it right there so the future owner knows that the timing belt was repaired, replaced, whatever. And then we've got our pulley here. You see the two bolt holes in there. That's where the holder is going to attach to torque this sucker down. But for now, we should be able to just push this on by hand. Hopefully. If I didn't mess up that keyway, or that key, I didn't mar that up, which I may have hammering on it. No, we're good. So we'll wiggle this on until it goes all the way back on. Use the bolt to tighten it down, whatever works best. And then after that, we've just got this pulley and the new serpentine belt. So this will go on here, like so, the nuts, and that's it. Then we gotta do the valve cover gaskets and the covers back on. As far as this goes, we're pretty much done. Final look at this glorious timing belt job. Brand new belt here. Everything's good to go. Got the sticker here, 52552 kilometers, 21125. So we're going to stick this on kind of right by the replacement mileage sticker. I'd say that looks good to me. And then don't forget your protective film. Otherwise, that'll just, all the writing will disappear on your lovely sticker. And done. Look at that. So that's it. That is the timing belt on a 2JZ-GTE. If you're a Aristo motor from Japan, doesn't look like this, you know, with these stickers intact and everything super clean. It's probably not going to have 40,000 miles like they claim. So keep an eye out on that. You saw how clean everything was as we took this apart. So I have an answer to this coolant. I bought these handy dandy test strips off Amazon. Coolant strip, it says. Phoenix Systems. So basically you dip a strip in the coolant, wait about 30 seconds, and then compare it. And according to this, our pH is good. It's either 8, 8.5, 9, somewhere in there. So we are far above the replaced coolant pH levels of 5 or 6. So now we can confidently pour this back in the engine. Don't even need to crack open new jugs. Final step of the process, we've got our crank pulley holder tool. That's on a basically a pry bar, 1/2 inch. And then we've got our Lexus 250 foot-pound torque wrench here. We're just going to make sure this is torqued properly to 230 or 240, somewhere in there. And everything will be held together nicely. And there you have it. We are torqued. That's it, everybody. She's a runner. So I'm going to finish topping off the coolant and the reservoir tank and bleeding the system, and that's about it. We're going to go drive around, enjoy her, and get some photos and videos of it, like the other cars I have for sale, and then see if anyone's interested. Until then, I'm probably going to just drive it, get collector insurance on it, and do the process right that way. And that's it. So thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. There's more JDM cars coming. Probably about 3 weeks or so. I'll have another cool video I think everyone will enjoy if you like older stuff. But yeah, let me know what you think. Thank you. Take care.